for weeks now.
Okay, but to be fair, no one said do it against Fnatic, Ender, and this is where I get scared, because this is the double TP bot team. This is what they did for an entire year with Broxa on the lineup to find those wins. And now you've got the Draven, you've got the Blitzcrank, you've got all the tools to win out. Execute against a team like Fnatic, that's it. You don't get second chances.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult for them for sure. You cannot make mistakes against Fnatic, especially when your playoff line life is on the line. You know, we've seen other teams slightly above Excel already falter in the standing state with Misfits dropping down, but every single game Excel have to come into, and they have to find some kind of an upset. This week they have Fnatic today, G2 tomorrow. If they want a chance at playoffs, they're gonna have to upset somewhere.
Yeah, and as I said, with the Misfits loss, it's no longer a pipe dream. It's very much possible. It's in reality, especially if top teams keep losing to bottom teams. So if Excel can find a win here, that's going to be everything. That's going to be massive because their schedule is brutal. Their schedule is miserable. They play every single top team. But if they can find a win here by shutting down Fnatic's bot lane, it's going to be big for confidence and it's going to be huge for the standings.
And putting so much faith into Patrik as well. On this Draven, the signature pick, you know, we've seen him play it in the past back when the name was Sheriff, and a lot of resources going into him in this game up against Rekkles. This is going to be a really pivotal matchup. You look around the map, it is the Patrik show we are going to be waiting for, and something a lot of fans have been waiting to see as well.
And something that, in general, I just think is one of the biggest strengths of Excel is how solid Patrik and Torre have been for this team. They were both kind of diamonds in the rough last year, I think, if you want to say, when Torre was Norse. And now, just generally, things seem to be working out fine for the team, but want to see more.
You definitely do, and that's where you start asking the questions coming in towards playoffs. Of course, there's a big environment shift here for these teams. So this is the first time we're seeing all of these teams after, you know, the week break we took last week, you know, sort of unexpected there. But this is a chance to sort of reset yourself going back in towards these final weeks and to try and, you know, come in no strings attached, right? You know, I think VODS was talking about it earlier in the day. The desk maybe was as well, where it's a scrim environment. You know, you're playing at home. You know, do we see the XL, you know, scrim god? You know, we hear the rumors about Mickey popping off in scrims. Is this the day we get to see, you know, some sort of consistency come out of him on the stage as well?
Okay, but to be fair, he's playing Ornn today too. You know, so like if there was a pop-off day, it was probably on the Renekton mid. Maybe we wait for the pop-off day. Maybe this is the safe, reserved Mickey day. That's all I'm saying. But the thing that I love,
he could pop off on the Ornn.
I mean, that'd make LS happy, but come on, man. No one else is like keen on the Ornn pop-off performance. Gambit and already Excel are losing.
How does this happen already? What's going on? I was about to come into this game and be like, look, you don't want to play around bot lane early because the TPs are going to come in. But then Fnatic just hit you with the classic level 1, and now Torre's down a life. That's going to be first blood going on to Hylissang, so it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not like Rekkles rolls into lane with an extra, you know, longsword or something, but still, not the start that Excel were looking for.
And really, when you fall behind Blitzcrank Draven lane, like, you're going to get more opportunities to come back. But Rekkles wasn't really going to be able to play the lane, especially against an exhaust Draven. The dark technology that G2 themselves have honestly plagued probably every lane with. We saw it in in-houses when 5 people took exhaust. Now we can see it in the bot lane when a Draven just runs down a Kaisa with exhaust. It's going to be difficult for Rekkles.
Yeah, I especially like the exhaust pick here on a Draven in particular, because like you already know that guy's going to be hard to beat down, even if you are one of the big damage dealers for Fnatic later on, right? Like in any kind of 1v1, like Pantheon would love to jump on that dude, but now that he's gotten exhaust, like there's no way you're going to ever beat this guy.
Yeah, especially when he has stand aside to interrupt the jump as well. So things don't get easier. But now another pause coming through. We'll keep you guys updated on what exactly is going wrong here. It's interesting though, Ender, when we look at this game, I gotta say that's like the worst possible start for Excel, but I still am not counting them out, right? Like despite first blooding on their bottom side that, you know, probably should have dominated. I'm still not worried, because I feel like Blitzcrank is such a coin flip champion, but you get to flip so many coins, Ender. Every 20 so seconds, as long as you have mana, you have a chance to just win the game.
But here's the thing. Like, that's great, Drakos, don't get me wrong. But they are playing against the master of flippers himself in Hylissang on the other side. So if there's any player that knows how to play against the flip, it's got to be him.
But what is the strategy then? Does Hylissang just say, we're not going to flip the coin, I'm just going to flash in front of this hook and we're going to go? Like, is that the
I think Hylissang goes for the flays. He goes for the flays because those are pretty much guaranteed unless you send him the wrong way. And if you send him the wrong way, then there's bigger problems.
We've all been there. Many historic moments from many different supports. Shout out to our boy Yellow Star back in the day. It's an easy ability to fumble in moments of high pressure. Ender, 10-5 is a bit weird to me as a patch. Because like a lot changed, right? And I don't think we're going to get to see a lot of the things that I was most excited about because the Blade of the Rune King buffs made every single champion feel so oppressive. And while there is a Renekton on the top side, I can't imagine the Renekton or the Pantheon are going to bust it out, which makes me sad because I liked the Aurelias. I liked the solo Q spice that was coming out, and it just hasn't been there yet in the games today.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to wait for it a little bit later on. It's also one of those things where like you're going to see it a lot, especially when it's like a bruiser or fighter matching up into a tank. And because we don't have any of those direct matchups going on, at least in this game, it's something you're probably not going to see a whole lot of. The other thing that I think is weird about 10-5, and it's not just like the changes that happened on it, it's that technically this is the first day we're seeing LEC players like in the LEC playing on this patch. But we're all on 10-6 now. So it's like we're seeing it for the first time, but we're already moving past it. It's a really interesting dynamic because usually you have that like buffer week in between where you see what teams have their first initial read on it in week 1, and then week 2, they make some slight adjustments. But now it's just like we're on 10-5, and then we're going to piece out to the next patch like very, very quickly.
10-6 is the one that gets me excited, though, because we're getting closer and closer to Fiddlesticks rework, and all I really want to see is Fiddlesticks be competitively viable. The first legitimately creepy champion we've ever made. Everyone else that has like a horror theme, you're like, all right.
So like here's the deal with Fiddlestick. Love the theme, love everything. I got the chance to play him, like this was like a few months ago. Don't get me wrong. Back when I was in LA, but I don't think he's going to be a super competitively viable champion. Like at his core, he's still like the same like fundamental champion in a lot of what he does. I think he got a lot of really cool things that he can do now with the passive and little scarecrows. He can drop down all that. The big power with the ultimate is like getting that AoE fear coming out of the fog of war. But I would be very surprised to see him catch on in pro play unless he was like pretty overtuned on release.
Which, to be fair. And if history and or Wukong changes are any indication, he might be. I don't think it's possible. Wukong already hotfixed, folks. It's possible. The other thing that I want to see is if we now on 10-5, and this will transition into 10-6, but the buff to Kaisa or the changes to Kaisa to make her AD or AP builds a little bit more focused. We've seen a ton.
You mean how she got nerfed on ARAM?
Yeah, okay. She got whatever. Fine. Don't bring up your side hobbies into our highly professional league.
Okay, fine. It was a hotfix nerf. The actual buffs definitely buffed her on it. Anyways, continue your point though.
Yeah, anyway, so I'm just curious to see if we see more AP Kaisa with more conventional build. Because the AP build, obviously, on the Void Seeker is ludicrously strong, but is a bit... If you miss the W in a fight, you like instantly lose the fight. That's a large majority of your damage. But inversely, the AD with the extra rockets on the Evolve Q, the Acathian Rain, is so gross. So absolutely disgusting in 1v1s.
Yeah, when you just put 12 missiles on one person, if they don't have a minion wave to soak up any of them, they're like, wait, my full HP bar, and it's all gone. Oh no.
We're back to pure Assassin Kaisa status, which I think is the nightmare scenario for any more squishy, potentially vulnerable champions. I mean,
like, to be fair, Assassin Kaisa is like the coolest Kaisa. Like, not when she's just like 1v1s you in a side lane without doing anything, but like when she dives into the back line in the middle of a team fight and just nukes your carry. Like that is to me what like Kaisa should be in like her high moments, not just the pew pew, hit your front line, melt you down.
Yeah. It definitely feels like budget Vayne when she's not like using ult to reposition in a fight. You're just slowly walking backwards with E, invisible for a second, auto attacking. Yeah, I agree. And my dream here, and bear with me, Ender, I'm a bit of a brewer when it comes to theoretical interactions. This one's quite simple. We'll call this a tier 1 interaction. You Kaisa ult into the Karthus, you one-shot him, great start to a fight. Hylissang lanterns you back out as your Rekkles, bada bing, bada boom, you won the fight. I think that's pretty good.
That is sweet. If Lantern had 4,000 range.
Which... As you might know, it doesn't. So this is your mission, should you choose to accept it, Colorcaster, is find a situation where this could be viable.
All right, so here's how you do it. You drop the lantern down, you flash over the Baron wall, you hit the blast cone over yet another wall. There's your 4,000 range. And you're also taking Ghost and Predator because that's what Thresh does.
All right, bad news. Hylissang did not take Ghost or Predator. So
what is he thinking?
I know. Not a fan of my interactions. That's fine. For anyone wondering, we're still in a pause situation. Comms issues, I believe, for both sides. We are getting those resolved quickly. Obviously important to be able to talk in game. Also important for our rest to be able to hear, competitive integrity, and all that jazz. Keeping it together here on the LEC Break podcast, brought to you by KitKat. It's Drakos and Ender.
Speaking of being able to communicate with each other, so I was in the pregame lobby before this one, and Expect rolls in, and he's typing in Korean, right? So I'm like, okay, I highlight all his messages and I put them into Google Translate, and he's just listing out all of his teammates' names like very clearly. But when you put in Caedrel, or the line that should be Caedrel, it comes out Cathedral. Which I think is great. And if you guys don't know, Yamato Canon calls Caedrel Cathedral all the time, and I think it's amazing. So
also,
there you go.
To be fair, if you're Excel, you're praying every game that he's coming to your lane. He's the only way you're coming out, especially you got the Ornn lane, you got the Renekton Pantheon lane. That lane's over with a single gank for one side or the other. So at this point, look at him like a cathedral, pray a little bit. Maybe he comes to your lane, maybe he gives you attention. Because I don't know. After the Maokai GP lane, like, top lane is so weird to me now. I don't know what to expect. And I just think just snowball someone on the top side of the map. I don't care which team does it. Just someone should. Because watching Odo just be incredibly obnoxious on Maokai made me realize how much I missed having tanks on the meta and how glad I am that I do not play top lane when tanks are in the meta.
Dude, you're just glad you don't play top lane, period. I don't care if it's tanks or fighters. Like, I can't play that.
That's because I'm bad. I can't win a 1v1. That's why I play bot lane.
No, but it's because you want to have impact on the game that you don't play top
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like, who cares about the 1v1? Like, top laners are a different breed of people, right? Like, they're the people. What's a good way to describe them? Like, the whole, like, someone's house could be burning down, right? But as long as they like win the 1v, like, they're fine. You know, that was a terrible analogy. I was trying to go somewhere with it. If they could use water to put out the fire on their bed, but the rest of the fire burns down, they're happy. That's the type of player a top player.
They've been social isolating for as long as they've been playing. You know, they're not interested in team games. They're not interested in sticking together. That's the top laner MO. Ender, should we talk about stakes? We're in a weird spot. Like, there's 10-5 to talk about. We could talk. But
like, it is dinner time, so I could go for some.
What did you eat, Ender?
I had some chicken nuggies for dinner. Chicken nuggies and potato wedges.
Oh,
that's just what you call them. No. That's how people on the internet call them. You know?
No, dude, no.
No.
It's fine.
You asked.
Look,
what did you think the answer was going to be?
I just.
What do you call them?
Chicken nuggets, dude. What? Why would you shorten that? How much? Why, Ender?
Because it saves you time.
How much of your vernacular comes from TikTok? That's my question.
Okay, actually a lot though, and like, okay, real talk, a lot. Also, all my music choices, like, I recognize so many songs nowadays just because I've heard them on TikTok before. Like, I would have never listened to this music before had TikTok not existed. And I used to hear all these pop songs on the radio because when I lived in LA, I had an old car that I couldn't put my phone in to listen to music. So I just listened to the radio. So I know all the pop songs. Last year, I didn't know any pop songs because I was chilling here. But this year, I've got TikTok and I know everything.
I'm so proud of you. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of the platform, but if it broadened your musical horizons away from just Taylor Swift or Billie Eilish at all times, I'm happy for you. No, it's fine. It's good music. It's just like, come on, man, live a little, get some DMX in there. You know, have a good time.
DMX, is that like a motorbike or something? What is that?
Honestly, sure. Why not, dude? It's the X Gonna Give It To You song. I know you know that one. Come on.
I do know that one. The best though is when Miyu Yamato went to a comedy performance, and there was some like guy from like the 2000s who did a musical bit at the end, and you and Yamato were just like losing your minds. I still don't know who the guy was.
Dude, Okay, well, I was really concerned because when you started referencing a Dave Chappelle show that we went to see together, it could get very inappropriate very fast. But thank you for keeping that wholesome. It was Most Def for any hip hop fans.
Most Def, for sure, bro.
No, man. Most Def came on stage.
Yeah, totally.
And then there's like, oh, cool. There's a guy on stage rapping. I don't know who this guy is. Fine.
It was like good music. I was vibing, you know? It was all right.
I think we've hit our allotted quota of random off-topic nonsense.
Okay, pull me back.
So I'm going to bring you back into some stakes. So coming into today, I was really thinking that this game would be sort of make or break for both Rogue or Misfits, because essentially at this point, if Rogue or any combination of 2 XL losses and 2 Rogue or Misfits wins, right, locks both Rogue and Misfits into playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. So sounds good. But I never thought that Schalke were going to win. Was not on the coins or in the cards for me. Did not think that.
To be fair, no one did.
No, now it's kind of ruined my stakes because this could have been the game that locked Misfits into playoffs. I could have been like, oh, Misfits, hoping, sitting back, waiting. They need Excel to win this or Excel to lose this game so they can get into playoffs. They can lock that spot. And now I don't really know. Now it's like the same stakes, just kind of delayed. Like they need Excel to lose this game, and then they also need to win tomorrow.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the standings right now, right? Like you have Excel currently with 7 wins, and then you have Rogue, Mad Lions, and Misfits all with 9 wins. Rogue have a game left to play today, but it's against G2. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's like fairly likely that they're going to have 9 wins continued at the end of the day. So if Excel were to win this game, they'd be 1 game down. That sounds great for Excel fans. The bad news is Excel lost both games they played against Rogue. They lost both games they played against Misfits. But the good news is they won both the games they played against Mad Lions. So, like, yes, they're going to be 1 game down from Rogue and from Misfits. But the real battle, I think, for 6th place, assuming that, Rogue and Misfits don't completely tank towards the end of the season, is going to be between Excel or Mad.
And it's really especially intense because a lot of these battles, I think, hinge very highly on Mad Lions' performance on the day, right? As you know. But one of the things that really stood out to me is from talking to G2 players specifically about Mad Lions. They're like, yeah, these guys are geniuses. They're so good or they're terrible. and like that makes all of these games so incredibly high stakes, because if you told me Misfits versus Mad Lions, like who do I expect to win? I think the safe bet would have been Misfits. But seeing Misfits today, I'm like, Mad Lions can do it, man. Mad Lions can strike back. They can get something done there, and that's huge for the standings.
Yeah, I mean, it's why a team like Mad Lions can get these upsets, but it's also why I think a lot of analysts have reservations about them too, right? Because this team, there is a fair amount of inconsistency on the roster. Like you pull out any sort of player in isolation, and people are gonna have a lot of good things to say about them. But then they're like, oh, you load them all onto the Rift. Like, what if they're all not having great games? Well, then the pieces start to crumble just a little bit. So that's why this race does feel like it is still very much in the running for both Mad and Excel.
Do you think the Trundle pick that we saw today, do you think that's real spicy special tech? Because I'm uncertain because it was played in a game versus SK, right? And SK obviously very low down the standards. So why burn your secret sauce, right? Like why use that there? I'm wondering if it's a bait, if they're just trying to fish for a Trundle ban.
See, I would be really surprised to see a Trundle ban against them. And that's why I'm like, I don't know if it's necessarily a bait. It's more of probably like, oh, we've probably scrimmed with this. Can we try it, in a quote unquote real game, right? So it was an interesting one for me that I think worked out pretty well. And I'm curious to see if we see any more of it.
Well, I'm curious as well. For now, we are going to toss over to the analyst desk. Apologies again for the delay. I'm sure we'll get more context there. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you very much indeed. We will, of course, give you updates whenever we get them in as well. But that does give us a chance to vamp a little bit here on our online desk. It's always weird. I mean, when we're in the studio, we don't have a desk ending, and now nobody can see the desk. So philosophically, I'm struggling with the whole situation, I got to say. But what I do know is that we can talk about the game.
We're just chilling here, Sharks, and just hanging out. We can talk about the game in terms of the draft that's come in. I think I missed the initial first blood. I think there was a skirmish that happened early.
Yeah, exactly. Same for me. But the draft, I would think that you had some question marks, probably for the Fnatic side.
I actually thought that, okay, so here's my tinfoil hat. I'm putting it on. I felt like there was a plan that Fnatic had something spicy with the draft in terms of either flexing a Cassio or a Pantheon, perhaps even into the bottom lane. But it felt like Fnatic bailed kind of halfway through it as soon as they saw the Draven and the Blitzcrank come out. The fact that they saved the ADC Kaisa reveal pick for so long. So as I was watching kind of what was happening with Fnatic's draft, I was like, okay, that could be Rekkles' Cassio. That could be maybe a super special pick coming out for Nemesis in the mid lane. I know that Nemesis is very well known for his Cassio, and he's an amazing player. But that's kind of what it felt like, just watching it tangentially.
I think the key thing is that Excel kind of unorthodoxly, with all of these AD carry bans, they went all out picking top, mid, jungle first three, allowing Fnatic to easily just lock in, knowing that most likely Ornn is going to go mid. Cassio's a good champion into it. You have Prio, you get to have some mobility early on, you get to impact the map. Ornn gets to scale, of course, and then later down the line, I think Excel just kind of showed the fact that they can lock in Draven into a player like Rekkles, because of course he's not going to play a Caedrel. He's most likely not going to play like an Ashe, because these are the champions that are usually good into Draven. So it just makes for an exciting matchup. And always with Draven and champions like this is the whole early game becomes about Draven, because the moment there is some impact in the bot lane and Draven goes 0-1 or 1-0, it kind of changes the whole flow of the game. And it's kind of, I like the suit for Excel because they need to show us something explosive, but at the same time, Fnatic is so good at impacting bot lane, so it's just makes up for an exciting matchup.
Yeah, but I have a lot of questions about kind of how they play around the Draven. Because I agree, like Draven Blitz, you obviously just want to sit and camp that lane or give it resources. Obviously with Caedrel on something like a Karthus does have gank access and it has decent skirmish access, especially in 1v1 scenarios, just because of the damage on his Skittles. But usually Karthus, if he does ganks around level 4 when he gets access to Wall of Pain and he can like rock up into those lanes, throw down slows. It's not like you can get wave prio on Ornn. Like Ornn can get wave priority pretty easily, but at least when Fnatic play Ornn, they max E as opposed to maxing the W or the Q that you'll sometimes see in solo queue depending on matchup. And if this Ornn goes for an E max to try to compete with wave clear, he has to put himself, he kind of does the combo like Galio, where he kind of like Qs through the wave and then he walks and then he E's back towards his tower like how Galio would Falcon Punch, and that just allows Cassio to just walk you down with poison. So I'm trying to think of like who actually gets down there for the Draven and the Blitzcrank if they don't just want to try to force the 2v2, like if they actually really want to hard pressure this lane. And I think it actually has to be through the potential Renekton. I don't know. I think Excel will try to attack somewhere else, but otherwise I think it's just Draven and Blitzcrank trying to crack Rekkles and Hilly. I don't know if they have the experience necessary on those guys playing weak side.
Oh, that's I mean, there's a lot to think about, clearly. Unfortunately, the game is still paused. Hopefully we'll get into it pretty soon. I do have an update in that Excel is swapping out one of the PCs of the players right now. Hopefully that shouldn't take that long. It's obviously a new situation for everyone, but we will see. Yamato, what do you have to say to the draft and to the game plan from either side after Indiana's points?
I think the key thing is the globals. Like Karthus ult is going to impact bottom. If Ornn is going to be able to have the space to walk down bottom, it's going to be amazing. And at the same time, Fnatic side, they have the Pantheon, the Gragas. They can easily create a snowball onto the Renekton early on. Sure, Karthus pathing, we saw in the game that he's starting from bottom side, going into top side. This is going to matter. It's all about how those globals end up into bottom. Because I see bottom like Rome, and all roads lead to Rome.
That's a good point, and I think whenever we watch a Fnatic game, we know that a lot goes on around that bottom lane as well. I am getting the cue that we are very close to the teams being ready once again. So with that, let's get back to our casters, and please, Ender, stop talking about TikTok. Thank you.
Wow, not cool, Shocks, but thanks. We're back into the game. So rude. All right, Drakos, talk to me. Where are you at? All right, it's going to be Ender solo cast from now on. Good news, people in chat. Weird champs only. We're going to be waiting to get back into the game
I'm here.
Soon
Calm down,
as
calm down.
possible. What? No. We had like a good 15 seconds, guys. It was a good run, but not enough, unfortunately.
Yeah, no more weird champs. Give me Monka hms. That's all I want. I want Monka hms and nothing else.
I see.
Well, as we heard from the fantastic breakdown on the analyst desk, bot lane center of attention. We talked about it a little bit, but that's really the only thing I want to see is what's the accuracy rating on Torre hooks. Like, how clean is the Tory that we see today? Because if there's one thing that I know this man for, it's engaging well. We've seen it since the Rock Hat days forever ago when he was still known as Norse Garen. How clean are the hooks going to be? Can he just drag Rekkles right into the middle of the team once or twice and win a game?
And can he avoid the lantern from Hylissang too? Because that's the one thing you have to think about with Blitzcrank hooks. You need to be able to chain that CC before Thresh can just lantern you on out of there. Hopefully we'll be able to get back into this one as soon as possible. It feels like, we had that first blood so long ago, Drakos, right? Torre went down. But I mean, like, as a reminder, the gold all went on to Hylissang. So like bot lane's still pretty fine. Like, it's not going to swing the matchup too terribly much for these two guys. But
to be fair, Ender,
yes,
there's a window of opportunity here. Because when we look at the scoreboard in game, right, what we can see is that Hylissang has spent no money. Which means that kill gold is effectively worthless. But you know what else Hylissang has done? He's used Ignite, which means Torre has Ignite advantage as well as even gold for the start of the game because he was smart enough not to use a pot in that exchange. So really, super big brain getting caught if he goes for the all-in in the next 2 minutes.
I mean, Drakos, that's like a fair point. When I thought when you brought up window of opportunity, I thought you were saying we could make like a pizza run before this pause finished, but I guess we have different priorities.
No, as we learned, you can't AFK during a pause for even a second, or you get enderweirdchampodcast.com. You gotta be vigilant. You think you got
that was a great
break? You're wrong.
By the way, that website still exists. So I would highly recommend checking it out.
See, this is perfect because I get to promote Euphoria and you get to promote Ender Weird Champ. It's really the culmination of the two things that we both love so much.
Honestly, the Weird Champ's gotten to a point where, like, those companies that like don't advertise ever, but like everyone still talks about them all. Like that's sort of like where I'm at with the Weird Champs,
Like Hoover, right?
Yeah.
Like no one calls it a vacuum, at least in the UK or in Europe as far as I know. They always say Hoover, right? That's a brand, dude. How deep in are you? That company owns that mind share. Brilliant. That's what we need to do. People don't think Ender, they just think Weird Champ, and you never need to say anything else.
Free rent in the minds of all Twitch chatters alike. I would like to circle back to our original conversation around chicken nuggets. My mother my mother reached out to me and informed me that chicken nuggets is indeed the correct pronunciation. So I'd like to say thanks, Mom, and I will only refer to them as chicken nuggets from now on. I'd also like to thank my grandparents that are also watching the stream right now. Hi.
Thank you, Mrs. Enderke or Ms. Enderke. What's your mom? What's your last name? Mrs. Fry.
Ender Mom. Ender Mom.
Ender Mom. Thank you. We'll give that a solid OK champ. In my book. You know what I mean? That's what you like.
You'll love to see it.
This is just the tendies of a new era. You know what I mean? I'm not with it. I don't really get down old baiting himself for jokes. You know what I mean? He's just like, I'm old. But like in this one, between the most deaf thing and the tendies thing or the nuggies thing, whatever it was, I'm in that camp now.
Dude, there were a lot of different things. Let me be clear on our podcast. So before you were so rudely interrupted by the analyst desk.
I'm trying to think about what other interesting podcast subjects that I would like if I was specifically to invite you on a podcast, what would I talk about? I think it'd be champion balance, champ design, because you've experienced there.
Okay, I love that.
Min-maxing Karthus jungle clear routes, because those are the two things where you're like certifiably the most qualified person on our broadcast. That and TikTok, but no one wants to hear about TikTok. So like, you can pick. We can talk about balance and design, and I've got many questions for you.
Yes, balance design. Let's go. Hit me.
All right. And keep in mind, people, we may be getting back into game shortly. Hopefully, we're working on it. Me and Ender are in game. We get to see the all chat. Thrilling back and forth of people spamming the letter R for ready.
No, I dragged it off my screen. I haven't read any of this.
Wait, that's a story for the next. If there's another pause, we're going to tell the story about how you don't have chat on one of your accounts. Drake, okay, it's a really weird champion to me, right? Because like when the Draven player is good, he feels ludicrously oppressive and horrendous, like just absolutely imbalanced. So I'm curious, from your perspective, how is Draven like as a balanced champion? Is it just that he has a skill cap and then it's like only certain people are good at him, so he's fine?
I think there's a lot going on. Like, yes, there's certainly like a skill to him, and primarily like when you look at champions champions that play very differently to any other pick in their role. They're always going to have like higher mastery curves. It's basically like the first game like a 30% win rate, but by your 50th game you probably have like a 56% win rate or something like that. And like the bigger the difference is between those two numbers is how you determine mastery curves. Basically because in between like every auto you're trying to like pick up your axes, like that's a little bit more complex and alters how you kite a lot of your champions. So I think there is a bit of a learning curve with him. But also he's like intentionally designed as like one of the most snowbally champions by default, right? Like you get kills, you're able to cash in, and that looks really good. So I would say he's one of our more like sharp champion designs, which is another like designer term, which is basically like the difference between being like really good or really terrible on a champion, being like that, than it would be on, I don't know, let's say what's a misfortune, very flat champion, whether like you're brand new or 200 games. Yeah, exactly.
The simple stuff. All right. Well, thank you for that, Ender. Luckily, we now have League of Legends to take us through as well. You kind of lost me when we started getting into the vernacular of like a sharp champion. I'm like, oh my god, this is like one of those things where people have sat in a room for too long and just made up words, and now it's overly complicated. But hey,
it's important.
It makes sense. You need to have terms for things. XL though, for now, bot lane not going quite as much or as well as they wanted. You can see the early back for a second Doran's Blade into the back pocket of Patrik should give him an even greater advantage in theory in a lot of these trades, but not really pressing their advantage so far. And Rekkles and Hylissang doing a fine job of surviving. I wonder when we actually see attention paid down to that bottom side.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, you know, you do have all the TPs in this game as well, so it could very quickly break out into some sort of a fight. That being said, this is a game where I don't think Fnatic really want to like all in towards the bottom side of the map. When you look at like just basic firepower in an all-in fight, I think you're going to favor a Draven, especially on this itemization, over that of the Kaisa. Now that being said, Rekkles is recalling on about 1,000 gold right now, so he should be able to go back and, you know, get a little bit more bang for his buck than just an extra Doran's Blade. He has a pickaxe and the fairy charm now, so it should be much better.
And a bit of an awkward hook there from Torre, so close, about half a second off. And I like that we're seeing the pickaxe and not the immediate tier buy here, because I mean, you're already in a difficult lane phase. Don't make it any harder on yourself by buying 0 combat stats when you return to base. So good heads up play. Will of course delay the Moro mana power spike, but isn't super consequential. Obviously isn't procced on a Cathian Rain, unlike the nightmarish PPE days. So not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah, ooh, check this out. Teleport coming through from Nemesis, just trying to secure the Scuttle Crab. He wanted to TP back into lane, but also Rekkles and Tori have both roamed up towards the middle lane, so we could see some action break out here. Although with Caedrel recalling and Selfmade topside, it should fizzle.
Yeah, Rekkles will back off and he is spotted. And that's just something we usually see Rekkles do on champions like Misfortune, a bit more movement speed. But I like that they're trying to do something when they're not comfortable approaching the wave against Patrik, that both sides are trying to roam, trying to get something somewhere else on the map, because it's very easy to just let yourself be the person who's sitting under tower all lane phase when Patrik wants to get aggressive.
Yeah, and now like with the pressure Selfmade has through mid and top lane, like Selfmade is inside the enemy jungle, doesn't have his smite up, so we'll end up ceding that one back towards Caedrel. But this is a situation where like he would have loved to try and pick or find level 6 before Caedrel and try to sneak in one quick gank before Caedrel can always be able to counter.
Selfmade's gonna have to walk into the jungle. Doesn't really feel comfortable taking the 1v1 against Caedrel. Of course, isolated damage on the Skittles is gonna make it very difficult. Lay waste, a very oppressive ability. But Bwipo smashing in these trades on the top side of the map. Fast Conqueror procs are making this pretty, honestly, unlivable for Expect at this stage of the game. But now Mickey gonna be the one in trouble. Nemesis chasing down, a bit more follow-up damage. Twin Fangs hitting hard, but are they gonna commit fully for the dive? Does not look like it. Don't want to risk it on the Ornn kill.
Wow, ice in the veins of Mickey right there, holding on to the flash the entire time, even after getting interrupted mid-dash there by Selfmade, who, of course, was unable to tick over towards level 6. Even had he picked up the Gromp camp, he was scuffling Caedrel over. Wouldn't have been enough, so didn't end up making a difference there. But still, pressure for Nemesis is always going to be a big deal, especially on this Cassiopeia, because if you can sort of like hyper farm up on this champion against, you know, 3 melee champions on the side of Excel, it's going to be really difficult to deal with Nemesis unless, you know, miracle hooks are coming through from Torre.
Now I have to see how Nemesis is going to handle this situation, because it is the Ignite for Mickey as well, picked up courtesy of the Summoner's Spellbook, but Nemesis remains unfazed, and Hylissang is already on the way up. Mickey, how many lives is he going to have? The gusto to not flash last time, and isn't going to burn it this time either, honestly. Mickey's so patient on these summoner spells.
Yeah, but continuing to lose HP, and this time he doesn't have the luxury of just teleporting back in the lane. He's just going to have to try and build some items here. It is the Negatron Cloak, so it's not like he can restore any HP like he would have been able to had it been a couple of rubies right there. But I think we're already seeing a very different game than Fnatic is normally used to playing. Like, usually their games are a bit more explosive early on, but after seeing the draft, especially with the Draven Blitz in bot side, I think this does make some amount of sense. And now the difficulty for them, I feel like, is going to be realizing that with Caedrel having access to R, now when Selfmade would realistically like to start making plays, they have to be very aware of how low they are going into the play. Otherwise, that Requiem comes down and they get nuked.
Yeah, and also just the sheer threat of the Draven finding a kill because of that makes everything more difficult. Rekkles is going to be very vulnerable in this lane. Even Hylissang, the Lantern Shield, not really enough to mitigate that Karthus ultimate. And Patrik with an XP advantage for now. Selfmade, though, does tick over to level 6. You've got level 6 for Nemesis, level 7 for Bwipo. So we could have some plays across the map. Fnatic could try to fish for something bigger here if Bwipo wants to roam out of this lane.
Well, I think look at bot lane too, because you have a TP coming in. Hylissang wants to go forward.
Play. The hook's going to come through. Where it's going to go? Patrik going to get knocked back. Doesn't even need it. Bwipo going to grab that kill. Excellent start for Fnatic.
Yeah, really nice setup there. It was kind of apparent when you saw Hylissang posturing. He had access to the Lantern the entire time, but with the TP coming through from Bwipo, Excel are not able to react. And Fnatic just play this beautifully because Nemesis had even walked up into the top lane to pick up that big wave. Now Bwipo, instead of recalling and resetting top after denying himself a wave effectively, just swaps straight back up in towards mid lane. So they're never losing minions on the map, even when they are teleporting around. And that's why they're sort of the experts of these early game TP plays, because they almost never sacrifice much of anything for them.
And the incredible thing here too, as well, Ender, is that now that we have Cassio committed to the top side of the map, Pantheon gets to walk mid, and now he can ult to either side. Semi-global, no longer a concern, because when he's playing through mid lane, he gets to ult to any lane he wants. So, once again, just fantastic map movement from Fnatic, grabbing the Ocean Drake for themselves as well. 1.3k up, only 10 minutes into the game. It's an excellent start. And so we shift our attention mid lane. I expect it's going to have to be careful here. Point and click the stun. The hook's going to be the follow-up. Pulled right back into this one. The box coming out too. Oh, Renekton's got to run for his life. The hook comes in for Blitzcrank. It's going to be enough. The 1-for-1 traded back. And Patrik going to grab that cash out.
Yeah, well, Fnatic trying to speed things up. Excel needed to find a punch back, and they did. But here's the problem. Actually, top lane getting frisky.
Nemesis has to sidestep as much as he can, but here comes the Karthus ultimate. Ulti coming out as well. He gets shut down before anything else can happen. Well played by Nemesis.
Yeah, Mickey thought he could win the fight with the Requiem coming in, but with the Ravenous Hunter, I think, on the Twin Fangs from Nemesis, he sustained through so much of the damage, landed the ult to stun, and everything worked out so well for them. Now, circling back all the way to the fight in the mid lane, yes, Patrik got the kill, but remember, a minute before that, Fnatic had killed Patrik, so he lost 75% of his stacks and really wasn't able to cash in on much.
Yeah, a bit of a sad state of things going on. Fnatic, they're able to find that kill. Now Nemesis has to play fancy footwork, and Caedrel's getting a little bit embarrassed here in this 1v1. Is he going to connect to Skittle? Doesn't need it. Auto attack! The death by a Karthus. First time we've ever seen that in League of Legends history, folks. Coming through here.
Just turn your E on and right click is the name of the game for Caedrel. Cassio can't build boost, but she can still dodge literally everything. Man, I feel for Nemesis in that situation. He was outplaying it all, but you can't dodge right clicks.
I'm gonna look back at that replay fondly, honestly. That's one of my favorites. That's definitely a little bit special.
As a Karthus connoisseur, I can say I've been there, Caedrel. I feel for you.
There's the Karthuses where they hit every Q and you feel like there's nothing you can do and it's a point and click ability, and there's the Karthuses who can't hit a Q and you wonder why anyone plays this champion. Caedrel, he had one of those why would anyone play these champions kind of moments.
It's tactical, okay? They're zoning Qs to get Nemesis to juke back into his E, okay? That's the strategy.
Oh, okay, I see. So it's actually big brain. He's getting him in range for the auto attack.
Exactly.
By using his highest damage ability to bait them into a false sense of security. I like it, Caedrel. Galaxy brain player has now the flat pen as well from the Oblivion Orb. So in the future, those auto attacks might not do more damage, but those Qs are going to be even more threatening. Look at that.
Do you want to count the Qs? One. Oh, he landed that.
2. Okay, so pretty good hit ratio. Misses 3, misses 4. We're not going to get a chance to talk about it, though, because Torre gets caught in, well, his own territory and gets knocked out.
That replay made Caedrel look like the most insane Karthus player I've ever seen.
That's called
He landed
selective
50%.
editing. That's when you get the montage. Now Bwipo's looking for his own montage. Another kill picked up on Caedrel, and XL are getting dunked down across the map, but now they're going to look for some retribution. Expect dashing in. Is going to find the stun. Wants to dice right back out into Bwipo. Mickey coming in on the backside. Uses that Summoner Spellbook Exhaust. TP coming in as well, but Fnatic are definitely going to be winning the fight here. Mickey tries to run to safety, but his own pillar blocks him from dashing out, and that's going to be it.
Is Bwipo finding yet another fight here on the Pantheon, diving in with his ultimate, and honestly just continues to do it. 5 out of 7 kills. We were joking, it seems like an hour ago before this game started about top lane impact, but this man has been all over the map and absolutely terrorizing himself.
3, 1, and 2. So oppressive. 2-0-4 now for Rekkles as well, and what looked like a honestly pretty unplayable lane from my perspective has gone just Fnatic.
Yeah, this is the replay one more time. Selfmade finds Torre from over the wall, lands the ultimate. Torre not flashing soon enough on that one with Rekkles jumping in on the ultimate. But this is where things get a little bit different because you have this really deep ward here spotting out Caedrel in his jungle, and that's where Bwipo says, hey, we're just getting on in here. Absolutely frustrating to play against. And even with XL trying to turn things around, you have to feel like it's a little bit desperation mode for them because they do get the 1 kill, but it's a 3v2 situation even after you do get that. So they were never going to be able to make it out of here, it didn't feel like, really.
To me, it just felt like an instinct play ender. Like, they had people in the play, they were going to try to make things happen, but Torre's been hooked again. Selfmade's going to throw the cat's back. The entire team is running over, but they might just feed a kill right into Patrik. Nope, Lantern going to deny that one, and Patrik left empty-handed once again.
I'm telling you, Hylissang, the master coin flipper, knows exactly what to roll in here. He's heads every single time so far this game. Absolutely on point with the hooks.
You'll love to see it. Someone had to be great at hook, truly attractive. Everyone was going to miss all game long.
To be fair, it's not Torre's missing that's hurting XL right now.
True. Just Hylissang's
it's him getting hit.
Accuracy rate.
Yeah.
The man can't miss. You wonder which Hylissang version of Hylissang you're going to get every time you step into a game of League of Legends if you're a Fnatic fan. Well, the damn good one this time around. And interesting change we have Ender coming in on this patch, specifically with the Moby's cost increase. Swifties just everywhere.
Yeah, everyone loves those Swifties here. I think on the Blitzcrank it's especially fun because I believe it does reduce the self-slow he gets on the W, so a little bit of bonus value out of that one, while Torre recalling under his tower gets absolutely chain CC'd. Not much you can do about that one, I'm afraid.
No, when your buttons don't do anything when you push them, it's high likelihood that you had a non-interactive life there, and that's what Torre's experience was.
I think Torre is building a Mikhail's Crucible as well on the old Blitzcrank. He's had enough.
It's cool. Like, look, if you're at home, we all know it's for Torre, but we can pretend, well, it's for someone else. Mickey's going to have to dash here, but solid input buffer on the Searing Charge does take him out to safety. In the meantime, XL are getting a fight kicked off, and now they've turned everything around as Hylissang's been hooked, but the rest of him gets taken down. Another cash out for Patrik, but Fnatic are here to play. The knockback is there. Rekkles going over the wall. Torre instantly dead, but the Ornn ult is coming in now too. Patrik, how much more damage does he want to do? But key fight for XL. Caedrel smiting down, but who gets it in the end? It's going to be one more kill trying to come through. Expect stepping forward, a bit more chaos here in the pit. The Renekton in the midst of everything, and Fnatic may have overstayed their welcome. Patrik going to grab another one. Even going to get it. Looks like it might be one more. They're trying to finish him off. The flash away. Right back into Rekkles. Caedrel has to keep his eyes up, but it's not going to matter. There comes the Requiem and the shutdown for XL, just like that, coming out on top.
It's a massive fight there for XL, down in gold with their backs against the wall. It felt like the game was sort of slipping out of their hands, but Torre started off with a wonderful hook, sniping out on towards Hylissang rather. And of course he does trade his life for it, but it means that Rekkles enters in towards the pit, and later on we'll actually see Roars 2 flash out of it, because now you have Rekkles, Nemesis, Selfmade all sort of trapped here in the pit with a very divided situation. Notice Patrik able to interrupt, I believe, Bwipo's jump forward for the stun there on the Pantheon, so his influence was severely reduced, and the AoEs in the pit with Renekton plus Karthus were enough to sort of clean up the backside of Fnatic.
And you love to see the cash outs. The Draven
no TP required. Sorry, continue.
all I'll say is Caedrel's actually hit a ton of kills in these last few fights. I feel like we did him dirty on the top side, and I gotta say, solid team fights. He hit the R. The most important part of any Karthus players role on the team. So solid performance from Excel. I feel like despite the 2K deficit and being down 2 dragons, Excel are still very much in the game. Sadly, they're missing out on the opportunity to break plates here, but now on the chase. The
Here comes Fnatic.
Knockup's going to be there. Mickey looks like he's going to be the sacrificial Forge God for the entire team. His Expect's just going to run out of this one. Hylissang, though, with the Swifties. He's got the Jordans on. He's trying to run him down. Is it going to be enough? The play backwards. Effect now needs to turn this one, but it's going to be incredibly difficult because Pantheon's now here as well. They pull him back. They knock him down. Alligator boots for everybody on Excel's side.
For Excel, Fnatic group up and find the good fight. Excel getting a little bit scattered around the map right there and end up getting punished, especially because like they had just put themselves right back into pretty even footing. Patrik with the shutdowns there, it actually accelerated ahead in gold over Rekkles, but Bwipo and crew continue to keep up the pressure, and that's just sort of what you course in a Fnatic game. When things get messy, that's when they know how to play. They've been playing for a year now, so definitely being able to get down and dirty where Excel usually find these mid-game fumbles that has plagued them all split long.
So difficult to watch, too, after what was a pretty solid fight around the Herald. Overstaying on the bottom side of the map. We'll have to see if they can clean it up. Mid-game's not over yet. Ender and fights are definitely not going to get any easier. 35k to 31.3. And remember, for Fnatic, it's all about chasing. It's all about keeping up with Origin, staying even in that fight for second place. They are tied 1-1. It's just fighting for playoffs. They need every win they can get. And remember, I'm not going to say this is one of their easier matchups. So if they're getting bopped here, they're going to get bopped by Origin. They're going to get bopped by G2 as well, and that's not what you want to deal with.
Yeah, of course, they got G2 tomorrow and OG next week. So you'd rather get those wins faster, sooner rather than later. Now, off his Infinity Edge, of course, that will come a little bit sooner. Then Mickey will tick over to 14 and be able to upgrade that into the Molten Edge for them. But they do have this Rift Herald, and can they break this mid lane tower, because leading into the Cloud Drake spawning, that could set them up with the pressure needed to gain control of the river and the objective as well.
And look, 9 times out of 10, I'm not worried about Cloud Team. It's always going to feel good. But now here comes the Ornn engage, trying to zone the entire Fnatic lineup off the tower, but they burned a major cooldown. They do not want to take a fight now that the Ornn ult is gone. Bwipo suddenly on the backside. He's waiting. He's looking for Patrik. He wants to squish your target. Fnatic taking their time. Going to walk away with a single kill. Do not want to overcommit. Still giving Patrik the respect that they deserve.
Yep, they do get the tower, but now it's going to be soul point here for Fnatic's side of things. Going to be able to man drop a little bit more frequently for Bwipo up in the top lane, but especially if they do get that soul and the passive movement speed, I think it's really, really strong, especially like a Cassiopeia being able to reposition in these fights. Going to be very, very difficult for Excel's team to deal with, and especially a Patrik or a Caedrel who are sort of isolated in the back lines while the rest of the team is looking to dive in, go for hooks and whatnot. Like, those people, like, there's a reason lost. It's a little bit for self-peel at this point in the game as well, where a lot of fights have taken place. He's just been trying to get away from Bwipo diving in towards the backside, and that's just going to be much more difficult for them.
And you got to give credit to Selfmade there on that cast, because he just disengages the entire fight. Like, he knows that if those champions get into melee range, Mickey and Renekton for Expect, it's going to be a lot more difficult. And that's why I actually really love Gragas on this team comp, because anytime the Ornn hits a good ult, you just throw a Gragas cask out, you say, okay, we'll try again. Just reset the fight, take our time, we don't need to rush it.
And in the meantime, you just send out some Kaisa W, start poking up. It's hard to tell right now. She could, of course, go into the Nashor's Tooth or into Crit Chance, so Rekkles still maintains some flexibility on that build path, whether he wants to commit towards the hard, heavy-hitting Qs or the sniper setup with the W max and the ability power evolve there. But in the meantime, the rest of Fnatic looking very, very powerful, with Nemesis finishing off the upgraded Seraph's Embrace, Leandri's as well. Like, he's just going to cut through the front line of Excel that's just been stacking purely HP so far this game.
It's going to be a similar case for Rekkles as well. It's just very easy to burn down this entire lineup, especially with the passive coming through on the Kaisa. A few more plasma stacks will make these fights, especially if they go too long, very, very easy. We're just looking at Patrik waiting for those big crits, waiting for that IE to come through. Maybe he can be the person to one or two shot the backline of Fnatic, but it's not going to be easy, because even if Bwipo is going to get outscaled by this Draven, he can still throw up the shield and buy his team 4 or 5 seconds on that front line.
Yep. In the meantime, Excel have to ask themselves, like, how do we even play the map at this point? Like, side lanes are going to be losing. Mid lane, Draven's not going to be able to control any sort of a minion wave. That's one of the weaknesses of the Draven pick. Barring his ultimate, he's going to be all single target, so whenever he faces off against Rekkles inside of the wave, it's always going to be Fnatic getting that initial push. So Fnatic should maintain full control over the map. That means full control over the river and neutral objectives, and the ability to look for picks too.
He can get caught out by the hook there, but obviously has the unstoppable, can walk away, so they're not going to give up too much. Looks like Rekkles will be going for a bit of a split build here, has the AD evolve, and now it's looking to get the AP evolve as well. The flash forward, Rekkles is going to manage to make it out of that one, and has to feel bad for Tori, but still the fight's going to get kicked off. Ornn coming out. Excel have definitely stayed too long, however. They're going to walk away. A few ults worse for the wear.
Yeah, right now Fnatic have a wave down bot side, so I want to see Nemesis go. We're trying to tag team towards bot side. They both have TP, so they should be able to go for this duo push on this side of the map, and the rest of Fnatic seem like they want to respond too and focus down here in case fight were to break out.
Does look like a bit of a reset though for now. Fnatic pulling back up towards the mid lane. Come with this one quite yet, and I think good that Excel do not try to overcommit there. They, of course, do have the luxury of the Draven ult, the Whirling Death, as well as the Karthus ult, but not overstaying their welcome there in their own jungle.
Yeah, so I wonder from Fnatic, something G2 did a lot last year actually, was have like one solo laner go into bot lane with the other one super close behind them and either get a kill and then push, or just simply push towards those towers. I think Fnatic have a big enough lead at the moment that they can look for that type of play as long as they ports on their solo laners. If they are Fnatic, are a team that don't necessarily love to play through their side lanes to close out a match. They're by nature a lot of that driven by Bwipo or Hylissang initiating these fights, but I think it's always going to be a good option for them. And as I say that, Nemesis is just hiding in a bush waiting for Expect to step too far forward.
He lands the initial poison, entire health bar. Expect just has to run for his life. Oh no. He can hope, he can pray that Cassio is going to walk into melee range. Just has to walk away from that one.
Yes, like Nemesis obviously winning right there. This is actually one of the situations where I'm like, Thresh. I just think it's like baseline super powerful on the Cassiopeia. Even if you can stack up Conqueror over time and it gives yes in an extended fight, I think she's always going to beat people 1v1. Like her DPS is always super, super high. So I'm a big fan of the utility that a phase rush can provide. Still though, hey, get yourself a permanent phase rush by picking Nemesis.
Also solid. Also, you know, if you just hit your Qs, you don't really need the extra.
But sometimes you do because you don't have boots.
The point of the game.
It's true. She's level 16. She's zooming.
And now she has the Cloud Soul. So even more problems solved here. Fnatic take that one just about completely uncontested. And right now, it just feels like Excel to think that they know that they want to get a fight kicked off with Call of the Forge God. They obviously want to maximize the value on that card. That's all lost.
Yeah, maybe trying to set up for a pick here with Tor.
Okay.
Well, F it on him.
That was an interesting ult, wasn't it? And now Fnatic started off because Nemesis is coming from the side. Tori's been caught out. A beautiful hook. Rekkles now going right. And that damage is insane. Expect now caught in the middle of multiple members. They are going to walk away. Caedrel throwing down the ultimate. How much work can it do? What can it do to bring the team back to this fight? Bwipo now going to back off. Uses the invulnerability, uses the ability to block damage, has been taken away now, and Excel just backing out here under the tower. Only one taken down on the side of the Fnatic for 2 on the side of Excel.
Yeah, but importantly, Excel were able to eliminate Selfmade, so that removes a lot of the Baron possibilities here for Fnatic. Instead, they're just going to keep on pushing down towards this middle lane. Now, in theory, they can go back towards the Baron as long as they're willing to turn and commit for a fight, in which case, Excel should know this is being started up.
Ender. of, but it's just so easy for him to be CC that he actually cannot walk forward into this team. The only person he can approach is Rekkles, and Rekkles might be stronger now because they're zooming into bot lane. Spec buys a bit more time. This is a stopwatch there, but it's not going to be enough. The spear shot comes out, and Bwipo's going to finish that kill. Suddenly, it's an exposed inhibitor, 2 exposed inhibitor. Nemesis is going to grab one down. Pantheon going to jump right in the middle of the team. Mickey, Caedrel, and the rest of Excel now trying to back off, but this has got to be it. They've got the Cloud Soul. Everything's in position to win.
At some point, you just gotta say we're fighting now, Excel, because you've lost the Baron, you've lost the Drake Soul, you've lost 3 inhibitors, and you don't outscale either. So it's gotta come, and it's gotta come soon. Otherwise, Fnatic, one more push, they're gonna be able to close this one out.
Like I said, Ultra Nightmare. Single hit, single mistake, you instantly lose the game.
You're just getting swarmed by a million enemies. It's like, how could anyone beat this?
It's true. Double super minions in each wave. Oof. Good news is Patrik is going to be rolling in money. Bad news is he's also probably going to get one shot if he missteps at all, because he has a Mikhails from Torre, but Torre keeps dying at the start of every fight, which means he might not get the chance to use it, and it's going to be all on that dirty exhaust.
Yeah, they find the miracle exhaust, but even then, is enough to stop the inhibitor from going down. Rekkles with a nice little swoop-de-doop into bot lane for the kill, but mid lane fight breaking out.
Speaking of swoop-de-doops, Rekkles swooping in on expect. Nothing the little crocodile can do. He was viable from early to mid game, but it's 30 minutes now, and it's Kaisa time.
Look, that was all dupe, no swoop. Fnatic now ready to close this one out.
Walking in, Bwipo going to take a bit of poke here, but has the Aegis Assault, can just back off, mitigate some of that damage. Just going to get the sidestep on the hook there. Patrik definitely has to be very careful. Cass comes out and they've isolated the Draven, and now we're on face first to do it, but they have to be careful. By a bit more time. Ornn ulti has now been used, so while they've saved the Draven, their base is now in shambles. Fnatic now walking in, the flash forward from Nemesis to try to have some fun with it. Caedrel going to die in the midst of the enemy team. How many Skittles can he hit? Not even going to try for it. Goes for the ult, maybe. Just maybe Excel can try to get it done. The flash forward from Hylissang. The hook goes wide. It's not what they needed, but Rekkles right into the back line. The exhaust is there, but it's too little, too late. He needed it 15 minutes ago. It's not going to be enough. Fnatic walk down the lane and end the game.
Ooh, baby, Fnatic get another win on the board right here. You know, it started off slow for Fnatic. Weren't able to get a whole lot done in the early game, but in true Fnatic fashion, the first TP came down by a Bwipo, and then he just kept forcing the issue over and over again, making the game look pretty easy.
When I look back on it, Excel had that one really solid fight, I thought. It went relatively even, but given that they were at a deficit around the Rift Herald, things seemed okay. But yeah, the second Fnatic pulled that swap on the back of the bot side exchange where they sent Bwipo into the mid lane, where they sent Nemesis top lane, it was too big brain. And there was no coming back from that. They had Excel completely figured out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation, right, where like a lot of teams know how to team fight, right? Excel, no doubt, know how to team fight. They were able to do that pretty well throughout this game until, of course, you know, the gold got way too out of control. But the way Fnatic played the map was certainly superior to Excel, and just need to tidy up those side lanes, I feel like, and maybe have a better shot. But I think through and through, Fnatic played very solid League of Legends.
Yeah, and not really lots to take away from this game. I don't think we saw any kind of crazy picks or crazy strategies. Bwipo showing his hand on Pantheon top is something that we've seen a lot over the course of the league. So if you're going up against Fnatic in the days to come, you're not really any the wiser from this game. And really just Excel fans have to be somewhat disappointed. Because as we said, this is the first of many hurdles that lie ahead of this team. And if they want to knock Mad Lions essentially out of playoffs, they're going to need to win a lot more games.
Yeah, we knew week 8 was going to be the hardest week of the split here for Excel. They have G2 tomorrow, and you know that, of course, you're not going to have a ton of high hopes for, but going into week 9 especially, I think, is where Excel just have to find something, because we're getting to a point where there's going to be no coming back for this team for playoffs.
Just such a difficult situation to be in, too. You know, you get the extra week to prepare against in your hardest week, and you lose your first game with something like the Draven Blitzcrank. And now it's just not going to feel as effective. And you got to hope that playing in home environment, playing in kind of more comfortable scenario is going to make it easier to recover for tomorrow. Because, yeah, grasping at straws at this point, if you're Excel, trying to find any little glimmer of hope. And we'll see when G2 play Rogue later today what kind of form they're in. It is a big question for all these teams. Obviously, comfortable scrim setups, but they're not used to playing games. high stake games from home. So we'll see what kind of attitude I think G2 especially brings to the table, but it is going to be a big question.
Honestly, it's a weird situation for Excel, right? Because they're like, they want Rogue to lose, right? You know, that gives them a better shot at making it into playoffs. But at the same time, they don't want G2 to look super good because they have to play them tomorrow. So it's going to be very conflicted emotions from their camp tonight.
There's no right choice. It's like it's losing by degrees. You can pick which loss you want in the end. Your ideal situation is that Rogue lose, but G2 looks just like an absolute train wreck for the entire game. And that's what you're hoping for, which to me, quite frankly, seems completely unlikely.
Yeah, it's not looking the greatest for them. I think that like this game was a weird one for Excel too, right? Because it started off with the first blood going on to Torre. Then we had the super long break too. And by the time Patrik had finally gotten a kill, his stacks had been cut down substantially. So I personally want to see Caedrel back on something that can be a little bit more influential in the early game, especially if you're going to have the Draven Blitz bot lane. And I think you just want to sort of double down around that side of the map because it felt like there was a lot of different elements to Excel's comp. Like they had the scaling, they had the early game, they had ability to force, but it never really came all the way together. And that's where a team like Fnatic that's always going to be on the same page is going to be able to punish you. Way together, and that's where a team like Fnatic that's always going to be on the same page is going to be able to punish you.
All right, well, that's enough from us. Let's send it over to the analyst desk.